Hey there everyone, welcome back to another Game Vault video. As always, I'm Captain Beefy with the Game Vault. We're going to talk about Dragon Age the Veilguard and how it is practically worthless after only a week as the trade-in value plummets. Let's cue up the music and we'll get right to it. Alright, so players are discovering that Dragon Age the Veilguard's trade-in value has plummeted only a week after its release. It's no secret that the Veilguard has been having a rough go of it since launching on Halloween. Not only did the game fail to reach 90,000 concurrent players on Steam, but inside sources allege that the game has barely moved 500,000 copies and has seen refunds skyrocket on digital stores. Even the Gaming Access media, which heaped lavish praise upon the BioWare RPG, has seemingly left it behind. Yeah, it seems, I think it's IGN is kind of walking back its review. It gave it a 9 out of 10, and now I just saw they had put out a critical article on it. Now granted, a different person did the review than wrote the article, but still, you'd think there'd be some kind of unity there within the organization. I don't know, maybe not, but anyway, I'm also told in terms of refunds that currently the game has had at least 30,000 refunds in the past few days, YouTuber Endymion said in a recent video on his channel, citing sources close to the game, which is not good for your game that has barely sold 500,000 copies to be hemorrhaging players like this. So generally speaking, Veilguard is not a commercial success. Most of those refunds likely came from digital stores like Steam, Xbox, and PlayStation. These online platforms allow players to return the game for a full refund within 2 weeks of purchase, as long as they have less than 2 hours of gameplay logged. It's a policy that lets players try a new game with no risk. If they don't like it, they can just return it quickly, which apparently quite a few players did in this case. Let's take a peek and see what Dragon Age the Veilguard is doing right now as far as players and exactly, what they hit today and all that. So today, or right now, it's 10:47 at night, so it's it's kind of late. 30,000. Oof, man, look at a drop off here. 30,000, just under 30,000 players. 36,000 peaking today, right? It is a Tuesday. Yesterday was 46,000. Sunday it only hit 60,000 or 61,000. Yeah. And Saturday it only hit 59. Yeah. So it dropped off about 28,000 from the week before. That's roughly a third less players in 1 week after it's released. That's terrible, man. This game is in the toilet. It's definitely in trouble. Anyway, unfortunately for gamers who purchased physical copies of the title, it's a lot more difficult to return open games for a full cash refund. We all know that. But typically these players sell the game back to the retailer. They take a loss on the purchase, but it's not a total loss. For a new game that's barely a week old, you can typically get somewhere in the 30s or even 40s on a $60 or $70 game. However, after a little more than a week in the hands of players, GameStop has listed its Dragon Age the Veilguard trade-in value at just $22. Whew, man, you are taking a loss if you bought that game and you're trading it back in. As you can see in the image above, where is it? There it is. Up to $22, man. Marvel Spider-Man up to 1980, just a couple bucks less, and that's a way older game. Undisputed. 33 Echoes of the Wisdom there. Tears of the Kingdom, Nintendo Switch, $22. It's a week old. Anyways, you can see in the image above, Veilguard is listed as being worth up to $22. This means to get 22, you need an utterly pristine copy, and depending on the condition of the game and the GameStop employee appraising it, players could see even less than that. Considering that a brand new copy of Veilguard is $70, the game has seen a devaluation of 31.88% in just 12 days. When you compare the value of Veilguard to other recent games, the situation BioWare and EA find themselves in becomes clear. Legend of Zelda Echoes of Wisdom, a game that came out on September 26, 2024, is worth up to $33. Dragon Ball Z Sparking Zero, which hit stores exactly a month ago on October 11th, is worth up to $27.50 on PS5 and $33 on Xbox. Call of Duty Black Ops is another recent release. That game just came out a week before Veilguard on October 26th. Value of trade-in, $38.50. And Veilguard's worth up to $22. Matches Legends of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom, a game that came out a year and a half ago on May 12th, 2023. The GameStop valuation after just over a week in stores doesn't bode well for how Veilguard is performing. If new copies of the game were flying off the shelves, GameStop would pay a higher rate for previously played copies. However, when a vast number of players attempt to trade a game in, the value plummets, as we're seeing here. Just how many players are trying to dump this game back on retailers? Well, one retailer who runs a store in a major shopping center told That Park Place that among the 7 stores in that sales region, the exchange, trade-in, and gift card return rate for Veilguard was a whopping 75% of total sales. Are you surprised by that? I mean, the Veilguard trade-in value? Did you buy the game yourself? Yeah, talk to me, man. What do you think of all this? Again, this is something we talked about before this game came out on this channel. We knew it was going to be a failure. Just from the overall look of the characters, they were awful. The design was horrible. It looked like Fortnite in a Dungeons and Dragons type setting. The dialogue that we heard, a little bit of dialogue, was cringe. You couldn't see much from combat and all that. You really couldn't judge that because it was mainly cinematics they showed us in the trailers and all that, but it was absolutely horrible. And then when the reality hit that this was some kind of trauma dump from the director of their coming out as a trans person, and they portrayed all that stuff in the story and just vomited it up all over the place for everybody to see. I mean, it's an embarrassment. That person should be embarrassed. The people at EA and BioWare who okayed this, the higher-ups, they should be ashamed of themselves for doing that. I mean, this was a complete waste of time. 10 years. You wasted a decade of development on this piece of shit game. A decade of development. A decade of time. That's never going to go back to these developers. What an embarrassment for them. I'm sure there were some good developers in there, but you know what? If they just stood by and let this happen, then they deserve to be whatever. They deserve to lose their jobs for this because the game is utterly beyond redemption. Okay? Anyway, let me know your thoughts down below. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Ring that bell for notifications. As always, I'm Cat the Beefy with the Game Vault. I'll see you next time. Until then, peace.